for tonight, what I want to talk about is, let me get y'all so you can see better. Very often when we're turning something, well, I say we, very often when I'm turning something, I will get it about the shape that I want, about the size that I want, and I lose concentration or whatever, and I get a catch. Well, we all know when that happens, there's a couple of things you can do. One of them is keep turning and turn the catch out. But something else you can do is what I've been doing. I started making my own micarta about 20 years ago. And I had the thought to take that a little bit further, and I started making pens out of denim. And I don't mean gluing a piece of denim on a blank and casting it in clear resin. I mean wrapping the entire tube in denim and either resin or super glue, and those make some really pretty pens. Well, I thought if I can do that with a pen, I should be able to do something similar to embellish a bowl or to fix a flaw. So let's say you've got flaws in your piece, like this bug do here, or that knot that you don't like, or a split that otherwise mars the piece. You can embellish this piece with the technique that I'm going to show tonight. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my initial mark so I know where to stop. And I'm basically going to take out that knot and probably some of this. So we'll make my mark there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make me a channel in here, and then I'm going to fill it with fabric. Now, natural fabrics like cotton work best. Am I lagging, or is my audio good?
You're doing great.
Good. I got those. I got my gremlins fixed, I think.
Well, you haven't started turning yet, so keep our
Yeah,
fingers
well, that's
crossed.
true. So, so what we're going to do is basically come in here and cut a thin channel. I'm using the dull side. Well, they're both dull sides. They weren't. It doesn't have to be very deep. You can make it as deep as you want. We're going to keep that about a 1/16 of an inch is all you need. Now, if you really want to get creative, I can't concentrate and talk at the same time, I guess. If you really want to get creative, yeah, that's enough. You really want to get creative with something like this, you can waste a lot of material and go in a 1/4 of an inch and wrap it, and then when you turn the inside, you'll get it on inside and out. I don't do that very often because it's just not all that beneficial. Now, the flatter you can make this groove, the better. And of course, I'm always being interrupted. And it's not quite flat enough for my liking right there. And the reason I say you want to make it flat is so when you wrap your fabric around it, it doesn't bunch. Now, we've seen something similar to what I'm showing tonight from one of our members in the UK, that he wraps the fabric around his piece and bunches it up so that it gives it a really cool look.
Yep.
I don't do that. It's an interesting technique that he uses, and I want to try it. I just haven't done it yet. But this is pretty easy, and it gives you an interesting look as well. One of the things you want to keep in mind when you're doing something like this is when you're wrapping this around, remember this spins toward you. So you want to wrap the fabric away from you. That way, when you start turning it, you're turning the end piece, not with the end piece towards you. If you wrap it this way, you have a tendency to sometimes peel your fabric away, and that's not what you want. So first thing you have to do, you just lay it in there. Wow, look, I guess pretty good, didn't I? Now you can do this with either super glue or with resin or epoxy. I've used both. I like super glue, it's a little quicker. I'm gonna tack this down on the end with some thick. I may not have made my channel quite deep enough. Now, it helps to drop your glue on the floor. And you pretty much just saturate it. Now, the fabric I use, like I said, I prefer cotton, but natural fabrics work better. I say natural, meaning organic. Now you will use a fair amount of CA doing this. So it's not for the faint of heart.
But that
Did you
smells
use
good.
resin on top of it, Billy?
I beg your pardon?
You use resin on that.
Oh, do I use resin on top of it? I don't. I could, but I don't. This is a 2-ounce bottle. I started with it about half full. So this is rough. This is going to take roughly an ounce of CA to get the effect that you want. And I'm not going to lay that down with my hands because I'm not that stupid. I've been stuck to pieces before. I don't like it. Actually, I've only used about a half an ounce, so that's not bad.
What viscosity are you using on that, Billy?
This is thin. You could use medium. Uh, I like the thin because it penetrates faster. Especially if you've got over a 1/16 of an inch of material, you want to use the thin. So I'm not going to turn this piece tonight. I like to let this sit for a little while. But through the magic of video, I have one ready.
It even changes color.
Face shield back on. And I didn't turn my dust collector on, but typically when I'm applying the CA, I'll have my dust collector on, pulling the fumes away from me. And I have a fan sitting here behind me, back over there, that helps push the fumes away because me and CA, I'm not real CA tolerant when it comes to fumes.
Billy, you got to swap over to Parfix.
I get this for free.
I know you do. Well, I know.
I'm sponsored by Starbond, so
Yep,
I get to
I
do
hear you.
this. Parfix is too expensive for this kind of thing for me.
Yep.
You want to start off easy, light touch. Because, like, if you've ever turned any resin or epoxy or whatever, it can be a little chippy if you're not careful. And the same holds true for this. Now, I've got this roughly shaped, but there's CA all over the place. So I'm just going to ease that off. And you saw what it looked like when I started. You just want to take it down until it's all nice and smooth. Well, see, I got some blowout. It wasn't easy enough. That or it was a wrinkle, because this was curved, and in a curved piece, it's more difficult to get the super glue down in the places where you need it so that it sticks well. But I have a fix.
He's abandoned us.
I just happen to have some more of this fabric. So what I'm going to do is cut some small pieces. And lose them. I got a better idea. I got a better idea. I've had small pieces break out before, but never anything quite that large. Only on Alive.
Yeah, never fails.
Nope. Always something.
You know, we could edit this out and make it look perfect,
No,
but then that wouldn't be life.
Nah, don't
that
do
wouldn't be life.
That wouldn't be life.
This is like bonus content because it's a teachable moment here on how to do a repair.
Can we charge extra?
It also shows all the newbies we're not perfect.
That's very true.
Well, I'm not going to leave that alone.
Come on now.
Here's the deal. If it can happen in your shop, folks.
It can.
It's called recovery. What's Tim Hatch call it? The recovery room?
Yep, recovery room. That's definitely a piece for it, Eddie.
We'll see if I can Now, if you have just a little bit of a piece blow out like it did over here, and that happens regularly. Sorry about that. That's fixable easily enough by just adding some more CA. And that's why I brought the thick over here.
Well, Billy, I'm impressed. You're using what CA there?
Carbon.
But with stick fast, you can't spray the activator on when it's wet like that.
The what?
You can't spray activator on stick fast.
On stick fast?
Yeah, it'll sugar and I'll mess up real bad.
And if you spray activator on the thin star bond, it has a tendency sometimes to snow up or bubble up.
Yeah.
But the medium is not as bad, and the thick doesn't hardly do it at all.
Okay.
We will have to. I keep bumping my face shield on the camera. We will have to wait a little bit for some of that to solidify underneath. Otherwise, I'll be wearing it. And this technique is not for everyone. Some are going to think, well, that just takes way too much time for me. I don't have that kind of patience or that kind of time, and that's fine. But I really like the look of what I end up with when it's all over.
Well, it's just giving me some new ideas with the coffee grounds and tea grounds and stuff.
Well, yeah, you can use that too. Nothing says you have to use cloth. And like I've said before too, I buy the cloth for pennies on the dollar. It's just remnants that I get at Joann's or Walmart or whoever sells fabric. I just look for the interesting, colorful stuff. I think I got most of them. This is going to be the test right here. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat just a little bit. and smooth those edges over some. Stand back out of the way in case it's slinging. Reminds me of a demo I did at Mid Ohio, or yeah, no, Midwest Pin Turners gathering years ago. Where I was doing one of my denim pins, and I started the lathe spinning just a little bit too soon, and there was no plexiglass shield in front of me. And I spun super glue out onto the audience. That wasn't good.
Oh, boy.
They forgave me, but I was a little embarrassed.
How do you put it? They stuck with you after that?
They did. Yeah, they stuck with me. I was very thankful.
They didn't have a choice. They had to stick with you with the super glue.
I was
I
waiting for
wonder how long
that.
it take them.
That was funny.
I thought it, I didn't say it.
I thought maybe Charlie would say it.
I thought it was Charlie that did.
Was it Charlie?
No, Eddie started.
No, I'm quiet.
Oh,
I think it was
Charlie's
Carl.
minding his own business. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was Carl. Carl. Yeah.
Yeah, it was me.
Guilty.
we got a few more minutes or seconds or something. Field back on. The damage. You fix some and you make more.
Just an embellishment.
Yeah.
That'll buff out.
Yeah. I'm trying. I've got some depth to work with here, so I'm trying to work through some of them. And I may be able to do it. And the whole goal of this is to not do that. And to try to keep from losing as much of your diameter as you can. So much damage I caused. More to the wood than anything else. Of course. Throw a quick fresh edge on this gouge.
Yeah, I can see how important it is to get good penetration of that CA glue, so you don't have any unglued fabric.
Right. Now see if I can smooth that out and get rid of that tear out. Part of the problem is I now have CA built up on my tool rail. Everybody keeps a file at their lathe, right?
I'll be the first to say no.
Well, my high-tempered soul. Ah.
Patience, Billy,
If at
patience.
first you don't succeed, cry about it. No.
Always worked for me.
If at first you don't succeed, get a bigger hammer. That was the medium I just used. And you notice it didn't whiten up or bubble up either. I had really envisioned taking this to finish on this demo, but I don't know that we're going to be able to do that.
You could probably have some fun with this using some braided materials that you get in the ribbon section or the decoration home deck section of a store like Joann's.
Billy, is it better to use a coarser material so it's a little thicker?
I really like using denim because it's thicker. Yes.
Yeah, then you don't turn it away so easy.
Well, not only that, but with something like denim,
Mhm.
you don't have the kind of blowouts with denim that you will with this because it's thicker.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't cut through the material into the wood. Yeah.
Right. And you can get denim in multiple colors. I have
Yeah,
one of my prettiest pins with this technique was I started with a layer of blue, and about halfway around the wrap I started with red, and so I was alternating red and blue as I went. Actually, I had two strips, a red strip and a blue strip, and I got the blue started, went halfway around and started the red, and then layered them down together as I went, and that made a beautiful pin.
I bet it would look good if you went to one of these Goodwill or someplace like that and get some denim that's faded out and
Yes,
has different colors in it. Yeah.
I typically when wear out a pair of jeans, I keep them and cut them up just for that reason.
Mhm.
And I got the red from a pair of red jeans my wife had.
Does she know she's missing them?
Hush. No, she gave them to me. Now that was, I used mostly medium then, so we have to wait a little bit longer before I try to thin that out. But this should get it, except for that tear out right there. Now let's see if it's going to make a liar out of me. Well, I'm giving that a chance to dry. I want to try to get rid of some of this tear out if I can. A little more up here. I think I can live with that. I do. Let's collect it going. Spent the bulk of my time with the coarsest grit that I use, and I will always do that whether I'm starting at 80, which I did in this case, or whether I start at 120 or even 240. I mean, you don't have to spend near as much time with the other grit. Standing longer doesn't make it smoother, it makes it smaller. Somebody told me that once. Well, this isn't the prettiest one I've ever done. Throw some sanding sealer on that.
Looks incredible to me.
This is Mylan's. You can use whatever sanding sealer you like. Shellac, Mylan's. whatever you find at the big box store.
That'd just be straight up sanding sealer, wouldn't it? Box store.
Yeah, I bought
Sensor.
the last batch I bought was water based, just because I wanted to try it and it was there. And it's all right for some things, but I'm not real fond of using it on my turnings, at least so far. That spalted hackberry is just gorgeous. And that's not too terrible bad. There's a couple of bad spots in it. But for the most part, it's not bad at all.
Looks good from here.
And
It's very nice from here.
Billy, if you were totally unhappy with it, couldn't you take that tool, remove it, and start again right there?
yes, if I was very displeased with it, I would I would sharpen my parting tool, and I would take this out and just refill it. One of the key things is now, had I wrapped this way with the tail ending over here and I started turning it, it would have unpeeled like crazy. Typically, the faster you turn something like this, the less chip out you're going to have. But tonight, that was not the case, and I'm not real sure why.
Hey, Billy, on those chip outs, couldn't you just cut another bead in there and then do wire burning or another inlay, different type, give you a different pattern if you want it?
You could do any number of things. You could say run a parting tool along this edge right here.
Yes,
and
sir.
take that out and lay a thinner layer of fabric of different colors, or of a different color in there, a contrasting color, like since this is purple, you could use a yellow or gold, and on either side, and it would actually highlight and accent it. So yes, that is a possibility.
Cool.
That's good, Billy. It's a good technique.
But as you can see, it's very, very smooth. You can see if I could zoom in, I would, but you can see the fabric. It looks like it's all the same, but then you can see it's not, where it changes between the layers.
Yeah.
And that gives it a really cool look. And I can't wait to turn this one and see what it's going to look like because of all the colors in it. But I'll be turning that tomorrow, and we'll see what it does.
Hey, Billy, would it be, would you get a better cut and more control if you put that between centers and used your skew, cutting from the top downhill?
Would I get better control if I used my skew going downhill?
Yeah, well, not the control in it, but the get a better cut.
I don't know. Possibly. In fact, I'm going to try something. I will keep working on this, and when I finish this piece, I'll put it on I'll send it to Cat Medi so he can put it up on the webpage.
No.
As
Send
a
it to
No,
Send it
send
to
it
Dave.
to editor.
To the edit. Send it to the editor.
Oh,
As
okay.
a quick recap, how deep did you say you tend to do it? About a 16th of an inch?
Say
I'm
again.
sorry. How deep did you say you usually cut it in, put the layers in? A 16th of an inch?
I typically go a 16th of an inch. I didn't quite get that deep on this one.
Just wanted to check because I like the idea and I'd like to try it. I wasn't sure how deep to go.
At least a 16th. With that other one, I was closer to an eighth, probably 3/16.
I was wondering, Billy, if that channel was a little deeper and that fabric and glue was sort of below the level of the wood, I wonder if you would have had a more protected cut as you went across there with maybe less chance of chip out. If that have you noticed that when you went deeper?
I have not. I have always started with it above, just because when you're turning a pin, you start with it above. But when you're turning a pin, if you're using this on a pin on the brass tube, I usually had with denim at least a quarter of an inch of buildup already. So you're not going to have as many issues as you do using this thinner material. I did the wrong skew. All right, Dane, we're going to try a skew going downhill.
There we go. Well, I don't want you to do it going uphill because you got the wrong kind of skew for that.
I know.
There's actually an upside down skew that you would use.
I'm being real ginger with this.
I don't blame you. As long as you keep that angle, straighten it up.
In the wood, it's going to catch.
I hadn't planned on turning this one tonight, but I'm glad you talked me into it. I'll need to fix that, but that's no issue.
I think you're getting better results there.
I think you're right. I know I use this when I'm doing a pen.
Right.
Because that's what I always use.
Yep. As long as you keep that angle between 45 and 30 degrees, closer to 35 for me. Yeah, it's shaving off nice.
It is.
Of course, you know I'm partial to the skew, so. It's not a can opener. It's not a paperweight.
No.
Fabulous tool.
New turners would say, why would you be partial to that?
Because you can't beat the cut. It's like a 5.5 jack plane on a nice piece of Bird's eye maple. Can't beat it.
If you learn how to cut, you can do what? You can cut.
Amen.
That's pretty.
Can't wait for my boss to come in tonight and I can tell her I've been turning wood with fabric.
So the reason why I was saying between centers, Billy, is that way it'd get you away from the chuck there for reshaping, reprofiling if you had to on the bottom.
Say again, Dane.
So the reason why I was saying between centers was that it would allow you to get you away from the chuck.
Oh,
when you're,
yeah.
making that transition down. But no, that looks great.
Quite a bit of a red, John.
Yeah, it's got some good color in it.
Do what?
I said that's got some good color in it.
It does. I'll have to put a tenon over here on the inside and turn this around and fix the outside of the bottom, but I think that'll look pretty good. You hit it with some sandpaper real quick.
Thank you, Heather.
I'm just going to sand the fabric and hit it with a little sanding sealer so we can see what it looks like. Oh yeah.
Tog.
Oh yeah.
I like that color.
Slap some sanding sealer on there, pop that grain.
That's what I'm doing.
Ooh.
I'm glad I talked you into it, Billy.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Both times.
Oh yeah.
That's what we do.
And with this one, because of the nature of the fabric, rather than having those same patterns throughout, like on the purple, with this one, because it was more of a scene and there's multiple colors and things going on, you can't really tell it, but there was a fabric change right there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And you just, I mean, it's got a really cool look to it.
It looks great.
So that's just one way we can either embellish a turning like we did these, or like I say, you got a bad catch and you don't want to make the piece any smaller than you have to, or you got a knot that you want to cover up, or you've got, now that knot that we covered up out here, we're still going to see it on the inside, but that's not necessarily a bad thing either.
Cool.
Anyway,
If you turned it super thin and put a light in there, then the fabric could give you like a lampshade effect.
Sure would.
Yeah, it would indeed.
Like 70s retro disco look. Now we're all dating ourselves.
You might be lighting a fire under some of these members.
Oh Lord. Good times.
This is interesting, Billy, because you've just opened the door.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're our biggest confinement as wood turners, at least I find for me, our biggest confinement is our imagination. And so many things I've learned from other wood turners, Like I'll see somebody do something and I'll springboard with it, or I will whether like Jim Duxbury's duck chuck or any number of other things. I've got my head's full of stuff that I've seen that I want to try. I just have to remember, oh yeah, I wanted to try that, and that's part of the problem that I have is my old
trying
man
to get
memory.
it out, trying to pull it out.
Yeah, but it just a little imagination can take you a long way. Well, what if I try this? Try it. The worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work.
Right.
What I
No
mean,
harm, no foul.
you lose. You might have lost an hour in the shop turning, but hey, that's good therapy for me. So, it's just play, try stuff.
You did it tonight. You heard David Rhodes. I'm wondering because I want to go try that. You got me thinking about products that you could do that with. And members, they're all sitting back thinking, well, he's using this material and that material, and can I use this material or that material? Billy just opened the door for you folks. All he did was open the door. He didn't tell you to go through it or what's the limitations. And really playing around with it, there are no limitations.
Hey, Eddie.
Guess what? You can put them on there. Limit yourself to what you want to limit yourself to. But until you try it, you'll never know if it didn't work.
That's right. Go ahead, Brenda.
I think
Hey, Billy, that
I
was
think
that
he
was
opened the
really
garage door.
Oh yeah.
That was really good. That was really good demo, Bill.
Thank you.
That really was.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you,
Billy. On behalf of the club and of course, always on me personally, I really appreciate you coming through and doing a demo for us tonight.